Alright, this is John Kohler with DiscountJuicers.com. Today we have another exciting episode for you, and today we have a blast from the past. Because we got the now defunct Champion Juicer here that we're going to compare to the NAMA J2. The Champion Juicer is a juicer of yesteryear. It was actually invented in the 1950s and manufactured at the Plastic Hit Company in Lodi, California since 1955. This is not a 1955 model. This is definitely a newer model. But I started selling Champions when I started my business. Actually, they're one of the best-selling juicers back in the day. Back in 1998, just a few years ago, they went out of business, so you can no longer buy the original Champion, now called the 2000 model. They also came out with a 4000 model and a very limited release of the 5000 model, which in my opinion really didn't improve on their original. You know, they tried to remake themselves and they just weren't really successful because the new modern juicers of today, such as the single auger machines, just, you know, like, in my opinion, crush the competition. Of course, you know, the Champion has many benefits as well that I'll be revealing in this episode, so stay tuned. So if you don't know who I am, my name is John Kohler, and I started the company DiscountJuicers.com back in 1998 to get you guys the lowest price on the juicers out there. In addition, a big part of my mission is to educate customers about the differences in juicers. I used to do that through online HTML comparison charts and web pages. These days, I'm glad to have YouTube so I could show you guys how they work in real world operation when I'm comparing and contrasting all the parts of each machine, as well as juicing the exact same amount of produce in each machine to show you guys how much yield you will get. And I still hold true to my name today. My goal is always to get you guys the lowest price on any of the machines that I feature. Unfortunately, I'm not able to get you guys the lowest price on the Champion because it is no longer manufactured. That being said, what I will tell you is if you guys want to buy a Champion, check out eBay or check out a site like OfferUp, Facebook Marketplace, or Craigslist. You could likely find, you know, relatively low use Champion because people would buy them back in the day and then they'd use them once and they'd put them away and they'd even have the original box. That's a good indicator. If they got the original box, it's probably a low use model. And then you could have a juicer that, like, these guys are literally built like a tank for the lowest price. I think my last Champion, I bought it for like 80 bucks. It's like almost brand new. This is an older model that I still keep around for one use only. It's actually, I never use this to juice, but I'll share with you guys later in this episode what I do use this juicer for, that it kicks butt even over the slow juicers of today, but it's not juicing. That being said, if you guys want to buy the NAMA J2 juicer, you guys could save 10% off the NAMA J2 by using the coupon code. We'll throw up right there, Champion, because in my view, the NAMA J2 is the champion between these two machines. It's the one that I personally use most in my household, and I prefer the most because it just literally makes juicing a lot easier. As you'll see when I'm juicing with the Champion, I gotta stick each produce item in. I gotta push it in, and it even might kick back at me a little bit, and the juice will come out. And with the NAMA J2, I literally load up the hopper, shut the lid, and I literally could walk away and let the juicer do all the work without me, right? Back in the day in 1955, this is probably state of the art, right? These days, over 75 years later, right? The NAMA J2 is the state of the art with all its advanced features and load and go technology. And if you guys want to save the 10% off, make sure you guys use that coupon code CHAMPION at namawell.com. When you guys use that coupon code, not only will you save $55, but NAMA will share me a small commission so I can continue to buy my produce, pay my electricity bill, pay my video editor to edit my videos, and I can spend my time to create this content so I could educate you guys about juicing, the power of juicers, and comparing the machines. Because honestly, I don't really care which juicer you guys end up with. My goal is to get you to become a juicer for life. And whether you do that with the Champion, whether you do at the NAMA J2, I'm going to give you guys my best, all the information that I know so that you can make the best and most informed decision. And it's quite sad to me that most influencers out there, they stick with one brand or another brand, and then they just promote that brand, and they basically have blinders on, and they don't look at other brands, and they don't know everything. And here's the thing, guys. I've tested more juicers than anyone on the planet that I am aware of. If somebody's tested more juicers than me, please let me know, because I want to pick their brain. You know, I have over 800 episodes on this YouTube channel where I compare and contrast machines. I go to different trade show events to see the newest machines come out. I talk to manufacturers, talk to some of the engineers that design some of the machines, and even give them my feedback to hopefully make their machines even better. Because in the end, I am a customer like you. I drink copious amounts of juice. Right? My goal every day is to drink 32 to 64 ounces of juice. Usually one of those quarts is a green juice. My second quart generally is a root juice or a low fruit juice. So that has little fruit. I'm not a big fan of juicing fruits, and I don't want you guys to be either. That's the biggest mistake I see people do. Fruits are so delicious to eat on their own, or, you know, blend them up. We don't need to be juicing them for the most health benefit. So anyways, let's go ahead and get into this episode where we compare these two machines side by side. So, you know, here's the thing. The Champion, I mean, I literally started juicing with the Champion. I started juicing with the Juiceman 2. And then back in the day, right, the slow juicers or the twin gear juicers, like the green power juicer, they were really expensive. But even back then, I started with the Juiceman. And then I was able to find a Champion juicer used. I think my first Champion cost me around $100, which is a good deal. I think originally they were selling for around $250 when I got into selling juicers, so that was like about half price. And I was like, you know, after using the centrifugal, I was not necessarily a biggest fan of the Champion, you know. And you know, here's the thing: every juicer, every different extraction method has its own sets of pros and cons. You need to weigh out what pros and cons, what's more important for you to have in a juicer. For example, you know, the Champion was made in the United States, whereas the NAMA J2 is currently made solely in Korea. Even the motor that some people say are made in China, everything is made in Korea on the NAMA J2. This was made solely in the United States, in Lodi, California. They're not being sold, but there are still parts available at championjuicer.com. You know, as far as I understand it, there's two sides of the family, two kind of owners, and like they have always conflicting views, and nothing ever really gets done and all this stuff. But at least they are still offering parts for those of you guys that own a Champion, or will offer, I believe, some service potentially to repair your old Champion to get you guys back up and running. That being said, you know, the thing I'm going to tell you guys is this. I know a lot of you guys out there have owned your Champion for 20 years, 10 years, plus years, and you use it every single day and you love it. And you know, if you're that kind of person, you love your machine, you don't think you're going to like a new one, stick with your Champion. I would hate for you to buy a new juicer and then you not like it. I mean, think about this. You've been married to your wife or your husband for the last 10, 20, maybe even 30 or 40 years if you're really lucky. And if you got a new wife today or a new husband today and they had a whole new different set of habits, you're like, oh, my old husband used to take out the trash. My new husband, I gotta remind him 10 times to take out the trash, and I hate it. People like what they like, and that's what I'm going to tell you guys. I mean, it might not be advantageous for you to buy a new juicer unless your Champions no longer work, and then you might even want to just get another low-use used Champion on the market. Because I'll tell you guys like it is. I don't want you guys to be unhappy. That being said, if it was me and I had the choice between these two, to me, this is a no-brainer. This is a 1950s machine that was designed and engineered in the 1950s. And imagine driving a car in the 1950s. I see classic cars that I admire that are just cherry and rebuilt and look amazing, but they're just driving down the freeway and I'm like, man, that car probably doesn't even have air conditioning, it probably doesn't even have seatbelts, it doesn't have airbags, it doesn't have ABS, like it's not as safe potentially. I mean, they're made out of full metal and stuff, but they didn't have crash tests back then. Like, it's lacking so many, it doesn't have auto driving like a Tesla or some other cars out there, right? So, I mean, benefits to the 1950s Champion, they're like built like tanks. I mean, they're painted so they chip. I got a few scratches on mine. Parts are still available, and they're pretty heavy duty. and I'll go into how they work and their advantages. That being said, you know, my money is on the NAMA J2. That is a current machine that when you buy it, you get a full 15-year warranty on the entire machine, including the motor and the top parts. On the Champion, they offered, I believe, like a, you know, maybe 10-year warranty on the parts actually, and then maybe like a shorter 1-year warranty, depending on when you bought it. Maybe it was a 5-year warranty on, you know, the parts and a 1-year warranty on the motor. And actually, they offered a lower warranty on the motor than the parts. They were more confident of the parts not breaking than the motor. Whereas, you know, a lot of juicer companies in Korea will have like a longer motor warranty and a shorter parts warranty. That being said, the warranty on the NAMA J2 is the next 15 years on the entire machine. So, you know, you could have trust and faith that the machine is built to last, literally, and last you for many years to come. So what I want to do next for you guys is actually disassemble each machine, because that's really going to tell you more about how the machines work and why the Champion is called a masticating juicer, and also why companies that make slow juicers have adopted the masticating nomenclature to call their slow juicers masticating juicers, which I adamantly disagree with. Slow juicing companies should not call their machines masticating, because to me that's masticating, I mean, in some respects is superior than slow juicers, but in many respects, you know, you are degrading a slow juicer by calling it a masticating juicer, which should not be done, because in my opinion, you know, in most cases, slow juicers are clearly superior. Anyways, let's go ahead and take these machines apart. So here's the whole top set on the NAMA J2. And to pull out the Champion, we just rotate this to the side. We could pull out these parts here. And then you have the blade that comes off. The biggest issue with this blade, I've had this happen to me so many times, unless you lube up your shaft before use every single time with some coconut oil, you know, this does rust. So like if this is still wet, don't put this on to dry. It'll rust in place and you won't be able to get this off. That's a huge problem. Just got to kind of pry it out and hopefully not damage any of the seals on there. But yeah, this has gotten stuck so many times. Anyways, let's go ahead and take this apart. So the main thing on the NAMA J2, unlike other machines, while you do have a standard hole to feed produce in, and let's see, it's actually, this is the pusher for the Champion. It's about the same size as the hole on the Champion. So you could actually load things in one at a time if you would like, but the main claim to fame on the NAMA J2, it has a hopper. So this hopper happens to be 2 liters and hold 70 ounces of produce. So literally you could load up 70 ounces of produce in here, you know, carrots, apples, watermelon, whatever you want. And when the juicer automatically juices everything in here without you, right, you could make from 24 to like a quart of juice on average. You know, watery fruits will create more of like a quart, maybe even more than a quart if you're doing like watermelon. And then something like celery, this loaded up will make about 24 ounces, right? That's really why the NAMA J2 is the best seller in the US, because it makes juicing a heck of a lot easier for a lot of people. Meanwhile, on the Champion, you know, you just got this feed chute right here. And what you got to do on the feed chute is you got to put a piece of produce in there, and then you must manually push each produce item in. Now, yes, granted, it will probably take you lesser amount of time to actually put everything in and push it in, but it's you having to do physical work. Whereas with the NAMA J2, it may take longer and will take longer to juice automatically. But the thing is, you don't even need to be there to watch it. You could be off, you know, watching your TV, combing your hair, go to the bathroom, calling a friend, you know, doing whatever else you want to do in life that is important to you, besides sit there and push produce into the machine and have it come back up at you, right? It's no fun. I've done it for so many years. I'm over it. All right, so that's the main thing. Manual feed, which most juicers on the market are manual feed. And then this is the hopper or automatic feeding. All right, next up we got the auger. So this is the auger on the NAMA J2. There's some divots that help reduce the sound created, but there are no sharp edges. I could run this against my face, is all I want, and I'm not gonna cut myself, right? Meanwhile, we take off the Champion, and the Champion doesn't work like an auger, like an old-fashioned, like, you know, tomato paste maker or crusher, right? This actually has teeth, right? I don't know if you guys can see the teeth on there. There's like little jagged teeth, and if you run this against yourself, you're gonna have a nice slash on your face. Also, while you could take this on the airplane as your carry-on, which I've done many times, this would not be allowed because this would be considered a weapon because it has a sharp little blade that you could use it to stab people and stuff. Now the other thing is because this has no sharp blades, you know, this does never have to be sharpened, so this is really a non-replaceable part. Whereas if you use your Champion a lot, over time these blades will get dull, and if you have an expert knife sharpener person, he could sharpen these teeth, but most of the time people just basically throw this away and then buy a new blade that can get quite expensive. I think this is the replacement blade because the original one was like the same color of the machine. So this is a little bit sharper, so we're gonna have a little bit better performance on it. But yeah, that's a major point. Now here's the other major point, right? How this works is, as this is going, when you put the produce in there, you guys could see, let me go ahead and take this off here. You guys could see in there, we're gonna spin the blade around. You guys can see this blade spins around and you guys can see the teeth coming around. So what happens is as you put produce in, the teeth come around and basically shave off and grind off a little section of the produce you're juicing and then basically crush it down against the stainless steel wall inside here, which is actually really nice. That's one of the features of the Champion I like. It's lined inside with stainless steel. I think every slow juicer should do that as well. And then on the bottom, there's a little screen. So as the produce is crushed up and ground into a pulp, the juice then drops through gravity out the bottom, and then the pulp then works its way along this kind of auger thing to kind of come out the front. There is no back pressure on this pulp, so as fast as you put things in, it kind of flows through here and then comes out. This is a big negative in my eyes because this means that you'll get wetter pulp coming out. And sometimes things don't get processed enough, because the other thing that I'm not telling you is that this machine runs at 1,725 revolutions per minute. So that's 1,725 RPM, which is actually quite fast. So you could think you're putting stuff in there, this thing's running really fast. It's, you know, as it's running each rotation, it's basically cutting, and at the same time it's breaking open cell walls. It's actually injecting some oxygen because of the higher RPM that's happening, which is causing some polyphenol oxidase to increase, as well as some oxidation to occur to the oxygen-sensitive nutrients as the cell walls that protect those nutrients are being blown open. So while this is not as fast as a blender or not as fast as a high-speed juicer, you are getting multiple hits at a high speed, because as it's grinding down and the produce is working its way down, is being constantly injected with air. At least with a high-speed juicer, the produce hits the blades, it's spun out at like 10,000 RPM, and then the produce basically gets kicked out through centrifugal force. Whereas with this, you're kind of getting some constant action on it, which then is reducing the nutrition. You know, and that's why if you make a carrot juice, straight carrot juice with the Champion, it's a darker color. And I love Champion because in their old documentation, like their sales pamphlet, it would say, our Champion juicer makes a darker color because we pull out more nutrition. And to me, knowing what I know now, I mean, maybe I believed it back then, but knowing what I know now, like all the oxidative damage that's happening to the carrot because they're injecting so much oxygen is causing that juice to be darker. Now, darker juice doesn't always mean oxidation, but in this case, when you have high speed and oxidation, and also the juice doesn't taste as sweet, that's a sign of it kind of going off because there's less nutrients in there. My personal opinion, also based on the science. So that's how this guy works. I mean, once again, the stainless steel lining in here is definitely give him a big thumbs up for that one. I mean, this part is quite durable. The stainless steel lining will, you know, be pretty durable, but I've seen people have cracks on their outer housing, and they'll basically put like clamps on here to hold this together, but their stainless steel is still intact on the inside. And then the other thing that could happen with this is that they started at some point putting a magnet on here, so then if this wasn't fully assembled like all the way back, this magnet wouldn't basically contact a little magnet sensor in here, and then the machine would not go on. Why this is a big problem is because what could happen potentially on this machine is when you assemble it and you have no bottom on here, And if you turn this on and then you can shove your fingers underneath there, you're going to get hit by the blade. So like their old funnel thing here didn't even have a grid, so you could put your fingers up in there and get ground up. And later they started having this grid, which also is a little bit more difficult to clean. But yeah, glad they made their machine safer because we don't want any accidents. So you guys can see, you know, there's teeth on here and it literally grinds off and shaves off every little piece of produce as you put in there. Then it basically runs it down the teeth and then squeezes it and then kicks it out the front. Whereas on the NAMA J2, it works similar but a lot different. The NAMA J2 number 1 runs at 50 revolutions per minute. That's 50. So that's like 800 times less than the Champion, right? 50 revolutions per minute. How this machine works is literally, it has a stainless steel liner, and actually that is the juicing screen. And what happens is the produce runs in the auger, and this auger kind of starts out big, and then it basically crushes the pieces smaller and smaller. So it's not literally masticating them because, you know, the Champion has teeth, like our teeth, that literally chews and masticates the produce as you put it in. That causes kind of ripping and, in my opinion, oxidative damage on one hand, but on the other hand, I will say it does grind things to a finer particle size than the slow juicer that will leave things like a little bit more coarse than the Champion. On some produce items like carrots, this matters a lot because you're going to get a better yield with the Champion than with a slow juicer. But on other produce items such as fruits and vegetable and leafy greens, for example, you know, the crushing technique and grinding of the slow juicer is pretty sufficient to get excellent yields, right? Anyways, as the produce goes down this auger and is crushed between the auger and the screen into a smaller and smaller space, it's crushed up and pulp is generated in you know, a small pulp, and then that actually comes out this little hole right here at the bottom of the juicing screen. At the same time, we have an automatic wiping blade. One of the big issues with the Champion when you're done juicing, this whole thing will be impacted with pulp. You got to scrape the pulp out actually when you're done. And with this, you have the automatic wiping blade. So this blade is like windshield wipers for your car. Imagine driving down the highway when it's raining out without windshield wipers, right? You wouldn't be able to see. So this wiping blade, the silicone wiping blade, basically comes around and squeegees off the screen to kind of keep it cleaner and also funnel the juice off so that you could keep juicing for longer periods of time without getting the screen impacted with pulp. So I do love that a lot. And the final step is the pulp then comes out the hole on the bottom of the screen there, and then it goes into the bottom hole here in the main bowl, and there's like a little green piece, if you guys can see, and we'll drop this open. So this is how easy it is to clean. This little green flap right here is a silicone flap. What it does, you guys, let's hold this up for you guys. You guys can see there's a little flap here, and you guys can see it's flexible. So what this flap does, it basically stays in the up position, and only when produce is dry does it allow the produce to kind of come right by it to come out. So this will give some back pressure to ensure you get a higher yield than something like that free flows like the Champion or other older you know, single auger juicers that don't have any kind of flap. Also, of course, this drops down so you guys can get in there and clean it easily when you're done. I will say that there are a little bit more tight spaces and channels in the NAMA J2 than the Champion. I mean, the Champion, because this is stainless steel lined, you basically blast water through here. I mean, this will kind of get a little bit messy on here, so you have to clean that. You'll have to scrub the auger out a little bit, and then you definitely are going to have to scrub the screen to get it all unclogged. But then there are some tighter passageways. So on this, the juice comes out of the front. This also has a spout cap, so you can actually keep the juice to mix in there, which I do not recommend. You should always keep it open for juicing to let the juice free flow out. This will prevent further oxidation when the processing blade is spinning around inside, which then will aerate the juice a little bit. Also, it'll make the juicer work harder because now you're trying to make juice while it's sitting and spinning in juice. Doesn't make a lot of sense to me. However, this does stop dripping on your counter when you're done, something that the Champion will totally do when you're done because it's just going to keep dripping unless you put a plate underneath there to catch all the drips, all right? And of course, down to the motors here. I mean, the Champion motor, I mean, there's not many motors. Oh, I haven't lifted one of these up in so long. This is a heavy motor, guys. Like, I'm not gonna tell you guys it ain't. It's probably like double the weight. Maybe not double. This is quite heavy. This is just the long ways. I don't know, this is probably double the weight. I'm about to say it is double the weight. I'm not weighing it out, but this thing is super heavy, guys. It's 540 watts. That's how much power it will use when juicing. Also, you know, if you feed things too fast, it'll actually it'll have a thermal overload and kind of click and go click, 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 because you're basically feeding things in too fast, and you got to slow down a little bit. Although some of the instruction videos that Champion made back in the day, they say you want to just power through stuff and put it through fast. You don't want to go willy-nilly, all right? So yeah, so this does use a lot of power, whereas the NAMA J2, it only uses 200 watts of power. So this is very important. I mean, back in the day in the 1950s, like, yeah, more power, more better. But nowadays, you know, everybody wants to be more power conscious, use less power. And, you know, this has a very high torque for just a 200 watt motor. It's easily able to power through most all fruits and common fruits and vegetables that have ever juiced in it without stopping. And so if you're on like a solar system, right, this uses less than half the power of the Champion. And of course, runs at a lot lower RPM and has a lot longer warranty, 15 years. So let's go ahead and assemble both these machines. I think I will assemble the Champion first. It's kind of the easiest. First, you're going to take the auger. There's basically a notch on this shaft that's round. So you just want to line it up with the notch on the auger. Slides in. You will want to lube this up with some coconut oil, otherwise you risk getting this stuck when you're done. The next step is we're going to go ahead and put the main juicer body on. You could put it on like this, but I recommend you guys put it on upside down, actually. This is a old school tip that you're not going to hear many places. That way, when you put this on upside down, it's a lot easier to put your screen on. This happens to be the fine hole screen. They did make a coarse hole screen as well as a blank screen. That is my favorite, actually. So you put this on upside down, and then you could go ahead and put on the screen holder. And this makes the screen holder go on pretty easily because you got to line this up. And then it just slides on. Then at that point, you're going to go ahead and then take this around and put it on the proper direction and set it up. The other issue is if you try to assemble it like this and put the screen holder, you're holding the screen holder up while you're trying to slide this thing on. It's kind of a pain. And then finally, you're going to go ahead and take your funnel and put your funnel on the top, and then you definitely will need your pusher to push in the produce. If you'd assembled it correctly, the machine should turn on, and it's actually quite loud. And if this piece is not assembled correctly, like if this piece is not all the way back, it will not allow the machine to come on. This is purposely. The issue that happens is sometimes people's magnet fall out. Hopefully Champion Juicer Parts still sells that magnet, or at least the screen holder part, so that people can get that up and going. All right, to assemble the NAMA J2, they normally recommend assembling it off the base. Early machines must be assembled off the base. I have a newer machine that you can assemble on the base. So what you're going to do is you're going to make sure your little green flap is in place. You're going to go ahead and snap this shut. You're going to go ahead and then take this back part that has an outcropping, drop that on the back of the machine. You're going to go ahead and then take your wiping blade and shove your screen in there. Make sure this will kind of rotate around. And then you're going to line up. There's like a half circle here, small one, and a large half circle here. You're going to line it up with the small half circle and the large half circle in the juicing bowl. Drop that in place. You're going to then take the auger and just drop that in place. You may have to spin it a little bit so it fully seats down. And then this is the most important part. You're going to go ahead and take the main hopper here, and the handle is on the front. So the handle should always face the off switch. The biggest issue people make is that they'll take the handle and they'll assemble it backwards, like a guy wearing his hat backwards, and then he'll basically have it assembled like this, and then they turn it on. It's not working! Ah! It's because this outcropping needs to line up with the outcropping on the back, and the handle needs to be in the front. So if you just assemble it that direction, you guys can see it then turns on when it's properly assembled, all right? So I think what I want to do next for you guys is do a sound test to see how loud both these machines are when they're being running empty. All right, we got my sound meter here, so we're just going to go ahead and test the NAMA J2 first. All right, we're at 64 decibels. For the most part, maybe peaked out at 65 once. Next up, we're going to go ahead and test the Champion. All right, not bad. So when running empty, you can tell it actually is a bit louder. It's a 68, and as you put produce in there, it will get even louder. So yes, the Champion runs at a higher speed and definitely is a bit louder. All right, so next up, we're going to be juicing. So you guys can see I got even amounts of produce on both scales. It's like 1609.9, 1609.9, or 10.00. It's super close. And we got 3 organic carrots, 3 organic Fuji apples, 3 organic cucumbers, and a small 1-inch piece of organic ginger that we're going to juice in both machines so you guys can see the full operation of both machines. I think I'll be juicing first today in the Champion juicer. All right, so both juicers will take some preparation so you guys could juice in both them. I think I'll do the prep work on the camera, so like the cucumbers won't really fit in easily. It's gonna get stuck because they're too fat and wide. So I'll probably just cut them lengthwise into quarters. The carrots are not too wide, so they'll fit in the machine without any pre-cutting, so that's really nice. Of course, the ginger does not need any pre-cutting either. The apples definitely will not fit on their own, so we're just going to go ahead and cut them in like a tic-tac-toe pattern. And so we could have 9 equal pieces that I could easily fit into the machine. I do like to juice the core and all if the core is, mold-free. All right, so you guys can see there's all my produce. It's pre-cut. Cut the cucumbers, cut the apples, ginger and carrots could go in whole. And now this is just literally a manual process where you turn the machine on. You just gotta push everything. And I like to do always something like a little bit soft. So maybe I'll do, some cucumber, apple, and then always follow that with something hard like a carrot. Let's go ahead and get juicing. I think we'll speed this part of the video up to save you guys some time. Well, and look at that. It's like you literally, whoa, it kicks stuff back out at you. I forgot that. It's been so long since I've juiced, so you always got to make sure you have the pusher in place. All right, last carrot going to the Champion. This has gone pretty uneventfully. Basically, it does take some force to push that carrot in. I forgot how long it's been. Haven't juiced in a Champion in so long. The other thing is the produce will basically come back up at you because it doesn't really force it through. So you gotta actually kind of push it in there, and then sometimes it'll actually even push the auger up on you, and the bottom of the pusher will have a lot of pulp on it. So you gotta keep pushing it through. Here's a tip. The tip is if you remove the funnel, the pusher could go down just like a millimeter longer, and you can kind of get a little bit more in there. And then I just kind of hold it down. All right, so we got minimal pulp residue at the top of there that didn't actually go in. Whew, and we could turn it off. But this has done a fairly sufficient job, man, for 1955 technology there. You do need to provide a catch container for your Champion juicer, all right? So we're gonna throw the pulp right there. Next up, we're gonna go ahead and juice in the Namit J2. The Namit J2 does come with a pulp catch cup as well as a juice catch cup, but I wanted to use the same exact catch cup as I use on the Champion to show you guys a specific difference. And once again, we will need to prep the produce, for the Namit J2 a little bit differently than the Champion. So with the apples, I'll do the same thing. I'll basically do like a tic-tac-toe cut, like looking at it from top to bottom. And then I'll do an additional cut down the middle. Here's the thing, guys. The thing on the Namit J2 is if you cut things a little bit smaller, you could be more effective and play Tetris better in the container to load it up more effectively. With the carrots, I basically just cut it into little rounds, just right down the line. The cucumbers, I'll do the same thing. I'll just cut into rounds right down the line. Super simple, super easy. And we're just going to go ahead and cut up the rest of this produce pretty much the same way. All right, we got a lot of the produce for the J2 cut. I'm using a smaller cutting board than I normally would use because I don't have a lot of room today because the Champion is so long. That's the other thing, man. The Champion takes up a lot of counter space because it's a horizontal juicer, whereas the Namit J2 is a vertical juicer, so it literally takes up half of the real estate or footprint on your countertop because it is taller instead of longer. This is something actually I also like. So to load up the Namit J2, what we're going to do in this case is we're going to go ahead and take some cucumbers and apples and kind of line the bottom of the hopper first with the cucumbers and the apples because they're a little bit softer. Then we're going to go ahead and then put in some carrots. They're a little bit harder. The carrots will help push through the softer items, although they are not necessary. Although when you add something like root vegetables to juicing something like fruits, or like fruity vegetables like cucumbers, which technically are a fruit because they do contain seeds, it'll help the machine work a little bit better. So you guys can see I got it loaded up and we got most of the produce in there. All right, let's go ahead and shut the lid. And now the amazing thing about the J2 is that all we need to do is turn it on. And now you don't need to push anything into the machine. The machine has a processing blade in the hopper that basically will rotate and somewhat, to some extent, pre-cut the produce and then feed it in the machine at the rate the machine needs it. That's the main innovation over the J2 over other vertical juicers, where you would have to pre-cut and then drop things in at the appropriate rate, and if you didn't, it can clog or jam, whereas the J2 has this optimized to pre-cut and drop things in at the appropriate rate, so it works perfectly every single time. So we're just going to go ahead and pre-cut a little bit more of the produce as the machine is running. On the ginger, I like to cut it in a few different pieces against the grain. And we can drop these in as the machine is going. So we don't have to interrupt the machine to open the lid to drop in more. We can just go ahead and drop in more as the machine is going. This will definitely save you guys some time. So you could be processing and cutting things up and then just dropping it in and let the machine do all the juicing so that you don't have to. All right, dropping the last carrot in there. And this is the amazing thing about the J2. Now that the J2 is fully loaded, we could basically literally walk away. So I'm going to clean up these dishes while the juicer is juicing without me, and we're going to fast forward this so you guys can see the whole process. Alright, so you guys can see the Nama J2 juice without me, and it did an amazing job. Looks like there's maybe like one apple that got stuck here, so we're just going to go ahead and drop that in and make sure it gets juiced. You guys can see all the pulp kicked out. Let's go ahead and turn that juicer off, and let's go ahead and tip it up to make sure we get any last drips of juice out of the machine. And we'll close the spout cap. And on the Champion, a little bit difficult, I'll just tip this up both directions, a little bit heavy. Pretty much no more drips coming out. And first up, I want to go ahead and compare how much juice we made without any straining. Also, I want you guys to notice, look at the massive amount of foam on the juicer from the Champion because it runs at a lot higher RPM. It basically adds a lot more foam to the top, but also more importantly, dissolved oxygen into the juice that will degrade the juice faster for the oxygen-sensitive phytonutrients and vitamins. All right, so let's go ahead and do a close-up on the yields pre-straining. All right, guys, let's go ahead and do a close-up on the yields. Over on the Champion side, looks like we got a whole head, like a big load head of foam, but we're at about approximately 1 liter. It's hard to discern where the line is because there's just several foam layers and you have a lot of separation. That's due to the oxygenation of the juice, in my opinion. And then over on the Nama J2, looks like we're also pretty much at 1 liter with significantly less foam. I'm going to say like half the foam amount, man, with the Nama J2. And the juice is definitely a lot more congealed as well. So you guys can see the difference in color. It looks like, to me, the Champion juice is a little bit darker. That may be because of the oxidation that is occurring, especially to the apples. The apples will start turning brown due to the polyphenol oxidase due to the oxygen injected. All right, so far so good. Looks like we almost have a tie here, except for the foam, but we have not yet strained the juice out through a sieve. So let's go ahead and now strain the juices out to see which juicer put more pulp into the juice. Wow, really telling, guys, there's a lot of foam in this Champion juicer juice. I mean, it's probably been about 20 years since I've juiced in the Champion because it just literally sits on the shelf. I never choose it as the juicer I'm using in my home. And neither do I drive a 1950s car either. My newest car is like a 2017, actually. All right, but yeah, lots of foam in here. It's still just draining out. And next up, let's go ahead and use a sieve to sieve out the Nama J2 juice. All right, the last bit of Nama J2 juice coming out, and check it out, guys. Significantly less foam left in the catch cup. I mean, there's so much foam it basically won't even come out of the Champion. It's like stuck to the sides. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and shake both of these sieves down to make sure we got all the juice out, and we're only left with the pulp. All right, guys, so I shook the strainer down. You guys can see we're left with a big pulp patty, but also all the foam actually went through the sieve and came into the juice, because what is the foam? The foam is basically aerated juice, and that goes through the holes. So we still got a big head, probably at least twice as much, maybe even more, because the foam is really dense as compared to the Nama J2 foam. And look at this. This is quite telling. Is the Champion really a juicer, or is it a smoothie maker? Well, check this out. By the amounts of pulp created, it's at least over twice as much pulp, maybe almost 2.5 times pulp created in the Champion than the Nama. So, you know, the newer technology works better to create more juice and less pulp. So now we have the adjusted juice yield that we'll check in a second. But first, I want to weigh out and see how much pulp was put into the juice that we just took out with the sieve. All right, let's go ahead and get the scale back up here. Let's go ahead and zero out the scale here. All right, 0, 0, 0. Next up, we're going to go ahead and put the Nama J2 pulp. 18.8 grams, as you guys could see. We're going to go ahead and once again tear this out. We're at 0 once again. And the Champion pulp, we're at 18.8 compared to, wow, 42.5, guys. That's like 2 times plus a little bit more pulp that the Champion put in than the Nama J2. So, I mean, if you like pulp in your juice, maybe the Champion is the way to go. But if you don't want the pulp in your juice, then, of course, the Nama J2 is the way to go. All right, next up, let's go ahead and compare the yields. All right, let's go ahead and compare yields. First, we'll check out the Champion. So the Champion yield dropped down a bunch since we took out a bunch of the pulp that actually increased and inflated the yield. We definitely don't have 1,000 milliliters now. I'm going to say that's like 975. My best guess there. Plus, we still got a really good head of foam on there for us, guys. Meanwhile, let's go over and check out the J2 juice. J2 juice, different story. We almost have a 1,000 milliliters still. Went down a little bit. Maybe we got 995 milliliters of juice. And definitely we have a lot less foam on the top. I want to show you guys the density of the foam. So there's the foam on the Nama J2. And then if you look at the Champion foam, to me that's a lot more dense, guys. Like a lot more foam in there. And if you look really closely at the juice colors, I mean, the Champion juice is a shade bit darker. My personal opinion is that that's due to the oxidation, personally. All right, so yeah, definitely in the yield test, the Nama J2 won. But let's go ahead and do the taste test, which is also important. All right, next up, we're going to go ahead and do a taste test. I think I'll test the Nama J2 juice first. It's a nice juice right there. Carrot, apple, cucumber, ginger. Wow, it's nice and crisp, guys. Really smooth, not tasting any kind of fiber in there. I mean, it's kind of like, I taste the harshness of the cucumber peel with a little bit of the carrot, and then the sweetness of the apple with a hint of ginger. Next up, let's go ahead and try the Champion juice here. Taste test this guy for you. Wow. So, to me, this is a little bit more thick, if you understand that, like a tad bit more thick, not like super thick. But the other thing is that, like, when I drank this, it immediately hit me. Like, to me, this juice tastes hard. I don't know. That's a one word. If I had to say, how does this juice taste? It tastes hard. To me, this juice tastes hard, and my personal opinion is it tastes hard because there's polyphenol oxidase enzymes going nuts, going cuckoo crazy, because we're feeding it the oxygen. We're literally injecting oxygen into the juice, which then causes the polyphenol oxidase to go nutso cuckoo, breaks down the polyphenols in the carrots as well as the apples, and then it causes it to kind of like have an off flavor. To me, I would call that taste hard. Whereas this one, if I taste this one again, it just, I won't say this tastes sweet because it's not sweet, but it just kind of tastes more neutral, like, in my opinion, like it should. Like, it doesn't taste oxidized. My personal opinion on that, of course, I've been drinking juice for now 29 years, and I've drinking a lot of juice and been around the block with juicers. But yeah, I'd love for you guys to do your own taste test. I mean, if you've owned the Champion for 20 years and you drank the juice from it 20 years and that's what you're used to, you're gonna, man, this juice tastes good, John. I taste the Nama one, tastes like water. I mean, you could think that. Like, once again, I'm sharing you guys my opinions as a juicer expert who uses the best equipment to maximize the nutrition, because I don't want to waste my polyphenols, because they're one of the components of juice that I believe have the most potential health benefit for us. And, you know, part of the reason why juicing works so well is when we liberate the vitamins, minerals, and polyphenols from the, especially vegetables like carrots, right, we get a greater uptake of them in our bloodstream. So I definitely don't want to oxidize them in the Champion. So far, I'm going to have to declare the winner of this juice off. The Nama J2 clearly put less pulp in the juice, made more juice, was a lot easier to use, because literally you cut the produce up, you drop it in there, and literally you could walk away, do something else while the machine is juicing without you. Whereas this, it was spitting up at me a little bit, it was coming back up at me, and I had to do constant work to make it happen. Of course, it made almost a comparable yield, which is actually quite impressive for a 1955 machine. But the sad part for me is that it was more oxidized and had a lower nutrient content based on my experience. Now, the other thing I do want to say, while the juice was better, I do want to compare the pulps, because that's also makes a big difference, guys. And this is kind of cool. This is actually where the Champion shines, because this grinds with the teeth and multiple hits as it goes down the auger. I will say, if you guys could see that, but basically I could see it by looking at it. This pulp is ground more finely, right? It's ground up a lot more finely. It's like you're coarse shredding it in the Nama J2 and you're fine shredding it, or actually ultra fine shredding it in the Champion. So while this does open up more cell walls to get more of the nutrients out, at the same time it makes oxygen that then lowers the nutrition. Whereas this leaves definitely more coarse pulp with, you know, that didn't grind up as well to get all the nutrients out, but now it's not oxidizing it. So once again, these are trade-offs, guys, that you need to determine which is more important for you. Of course, on the carrots, it's going to be more coarse, but on things like leafy greens, you know, the Nama and the Champion, I would say actually at that point on leafy greens and fruits, the Nama is pretty efficient, because you don't really got to open up cell walls too much on fruits, and the leafy greens just do their texture. The grinding and pressing style tends to work pretty well. Think about like a dedicated wheatgrass juicer works on the same kind of single auger kind of system, where it literally crushes and squeezes the juice out, because you don't really need to tear into it like you do with carrots. On the same token, like, you know, like I've juiced 5 heads of celery in this without it clogging and jamming with minimal cutting. Link down below to that video. Whereas if you put in a whole stalks of celery on your Champion, it's going to wrap around the auger and it's going to cause it to clog and overheat and then actually make your juice hot. So yeah, once again, pros and cons of each machine. These juicers in terms of yield in this recipe are fairly evenly massed, but it's the minutia that I want you guys to be aware about that nobody else is really even going to tell you guys about. So I want to get these actually cleaned up, get my juice put up, and then I'm going to do another test, and I'm going to show you guys why I still own a Champion, because it's actually for this other purpose that I use a Champion for, because I seriously don't use it for juicing at all. Alright, so you guys learned that the Nama J2 pretty much beat the Champion in the juice off, but here is one way, in my personal opinion, the Champion's going to beat the Nama J2. It's actually making frozen banana sorbet, also called nice cream, because it's nice to the cows, instead of like enslaving them so they could produce milk so you could eat your ice cream. Also, of course, fruit is a lot healthier than ice cream, where they're adding in sugar and different preservatives and artificial colors and flavors and things. So, I mean, this is an amazing benefit of both these machines, that you can do. If you have a champion, you will need to get this homogenizing attachment, or what is known as a blank plate. I would actually encourage you guys to actually get the blank plate instead of the homogenizing attachment. The homogenizing attachment is nice, although it is not stainless steel lined, whereas if you're using the blank plate, you know, the original champion housing is stainless steel lined, so it's gonna be a lot more durable. I learned that from a farm in Hawaii that uses the champion with blank plates to process frozen white pineapple into even a more delicious soft serve than the bananas, all right? And of course, if you have the NAMA J2, you will have to buy an additional part known as the sorbet attachment or solid screen. Link down below to my video where I show how you can make nut, butter, and sorbet with this very attachment, all right? And so let's go ahead and show you guys why I believe the champion will beat the NAMA in this test. And on this one, actually, it's going to be fun because the NAMA, I'm going to let it process the bananas concurrently as I make the banana ice cream in the champion juicer. We have basically 2.5 bananas that we're going to put in each one. So for the J2, I'm just going to go ahead and take the banana and just chop it into little pieces and load it in the feed chute. They originally recommended you like only put a little bit in at a time, but I've seen other people just like load it up, so I'm just gonna load it up. All right, so we got half the bananas in the J2. We're just gonna go ahead and turn this on and let this go to town. And actually the banana sorbet will come out where the pulp normally comes out. And on the champion, we're gonna go ahead and turn it on, and we're gonna have to feed the bananas in manually and push them in. And it starts to click, but you got banana ice cream's coming out here and it's coming out there. And it looks pretty much the same. This does take some strength, and you guys can hear it click because I'm kind of like overpowering it, like overloading the motor. It clicks. And you guys can see the NAMA is still working to make the banana sorbet there. And the champion is pretty much all done making the banana sorbet. Now we can turn it off. Now check it out, guys. This is why I believe the champion is better than the NAMA J2 at making sorbet. Let's go ahead and wait for the NAMA J2 to finish up. All right, the NAMA J2 is pretty much done processing the bananas, so we're just gonna go ahead and turn it off. And we're just gonna go ahead and lift this up and drop this little spout cap down. And now we can get all our banana sorbet out. We can close the hatch back up. Now I want to show you guys actually what was created with each machine here. Give you guys a close-up on this. Look at that. Tell me, which one looks more like ice cream to you? This one, it definitely looks a lot more yellow, like the bananas going in that just came out, you know, frozen, but they're all now mushed up and more of a soft serve texture. Or the one that went through the champion, actually it's more whitish color, more white, right? Now let's go ahead and explain to you guys what happened on this test. So, you know, while you learn that the champion did put a lot of air and foam into the juice, right? To me, when you're making juice, that is a negative thing because it oxidizes the nutrients in the juice that are oxygen sensitive, right? And the polyphenols that break down with greater enzymatic activity. Meanwhile, when you make sorbet, you are literally adding in oxygen as it's grinding up multiple hits. It's fluffing it up, grinding it with the teeth to get the finest texture ever as it adds and injects oxygen in there. So now it's not as yellow because it's been basically diluted with air, which makes it more white than more this, which is more hard pack, right? Now, this is gonna melt a lot faster because there's a lot more surface area. It's been ground up more. It's a lot more finer texture. This is a lot more hard pack. It's still gonna taste good, but you know, it still retains the regular color and the mouthfeel is not quite as nice. So let's go ahead and do the taste test. First, we'll do the NAMA J2, the sorbet. And if I've only ever made NAMA J2 sorbet, I'd be like, you know, that's pretty good. This would be better to put like in a cone. If you want to like serve it and try to trick somebody. It has like more of the, like a popsicle that's gone soft. That's what I'm going to tell you guys. Popsicle that's gone soft. That's like this texture. Next up, we're gonna go ahead and try the Champion sorbet right here. Look at this. Look how this just comes right off on the spoon, guys. Oh my gosh. To me, there is no comparison. I used to get that frozen yogurt at McDonald's back when I was a kid, and this has the same exact texture as it comes out of that machine, which is all that processed sugar and I don't even know, artificial whatever they're putting in there. This is 100% bananas. This is the best doggone banana ice cream that you can make with any machine. I mean, I've tried the Yonanas, which is basically a copy of this that doesn't really work as well, made in China. The Pure Juicer works pretty good with its grinder, but it doesn't imitate the Champion with the longer run, and it really just fluffs it up so nice, so creamy, so delicious. That is why I still own the Champion today, and I haven't found any other machine that makes banana ice cream as good as the Champion. Straight up. That is a big, huge difference, guys. Of course, you may be fine with this, but of course, you know, I'm just here to show you guys my personal opinions, and for me, texture is everything with banana ice cream. The Champion's got the Nama beat by a long shot on this one, guys. All right, so what did you guys learn after watching this episode today? Well, you learned that both these machines made a fairly close yield. That being said, the Nama J2 made a much better tasting juice in my personal opinion. Also put less pulp in the juice, made a little bit higher yield as well. It also was a lot less work to juice. That being said, the Nama will be a little more work to clean because now you got a lot more parts to clean than the Champion. That is relatively easier to clean. That being said, on the banana ice cream, different story though, because we inflated the bananas with the air and it grinded so well, right? It made a superior banana ice cream because the mouthfeel is it. Oh, this is it, man. I haven't made banana ice cream with the Champion so long because I've been kind of lazy and been using like a blender and stuff. But like, you can't beat the Champion for banana ice cream or any other kind of frozen sorbet. You could put frozen mangoes in here, frozen pineapples in here, frozen berries. It fluffs it all up, which is not good for the nutrition, but it's amazing for the mouthfeel. Whereas the Nama will, you know, still do it at that low RPM, make it more hard pack. It's not going to melt as quickly, and it just doesn't quite have that same mouthfeel. It's a little bit more dense, which, of course, some of you guys may like, but of course, I prefer the softness and the creaminess of the banana ice cream made in the Champion. So in the end of this episode, which machine am I going to declare the winner? Man, for juicing, clearly the Nama J2 for banana ice cream. I'm going to say the Champion. That being said, the Champion is no longer available brand new. You're going to have to find one used if you guys could do that. It's not going to have a warranty. And, you know, hopefully you could still get service for it and parts if available and still going to be available. I'm not really sure. I mean, here's the thing, guys. If you guys want a juice, I'd say go for the Nama. Especially if you've been using a Champion for all these years. I mean, maybe you guys have a Champion, which is a 1950s design on the juicer. Maybe your guys are still driving a 1950s car because you love it. Then, hey, keep your Champion. But if you have like a new car with all like the latest and greatest stays in the lane, auto brakes for you, has, you know, airbags and seat belts and all these things, right? Then you want to also upgrade your juicer to the modern times, guys. Get with the times. Have it a lot easier to make your juice. You don't have to push everything in. It's not going to come back at you or even spit up on your ceiling or make a mess on your counters or drip down the main body. Like when you're done cleaning this, there's nothing on this little main motor body because they have good seals. Something the Champion never had on there. Of course, if you guys want to make the banana ice cream, hey, still keep your Champion around for that. And if you guys want to make the best banana ice cream, buy a used Champion. You know, available on Craigslist or OfferUp or something. The texture is simply amazing. So if you guys want to buy the Nama J2, use a coupon code CHAMPION. We'll throw up right there. It'll save you guys $55 off the Nama J2. This coupon works worldwide, guys, and Nama will ship to the 48 United States for free, as well as the European Union for free when you buy the European Union model. So that is completely amazing. And of course, Nama also has discounted shipping rates through DSL all over the entire world, so you guys could buy the NAMA J2. And unlike other juicers that you may find and be able to buy locally in your specific country, they're going to have a lot shorter warranties, maybe a 1-year warranty or 2-year warranty on the parts, maybe a little bit longer motor warranty. But be confident when you buy a NAMA juicer anywhere in the entire world on the J2, you're going to have a full 15-year warranty on the motor as well as all the parts. So you're going to get the benefits of having a USA-based warranty even though you're in a foreign country. And that will really help you guys out in the future so that you guys are going to have a guaranteed juicer for life, right? 15 years, this thing is going to run without hassle. And like many customers I've sold the J2 to, you're going to be like, man, John, I'm so glad I got the J2. It just makes the whole juicing process easier. It just makes me actually want to juice more than I have been so I could get more fruits and vegetables and especially the leafy greens in me so I could have a greater health benefit. And once again, when you guys use that coupon code CHAMPION, because to me, the NAMA J2 is the champion, you'll save $55 off. The coupon code will also work for 10% off the sorbet attachment or any of the other attachments, which is the 3-liter hopper is my favorite attachment. Link down below to my video where I share all the amazing accessories, including the citrus attachment you guys can buy for the NAMA J2. Also, of course, besides you saving 10% or $55 off on the J2, NAMA will share me a small commission so I can continue to make these educational videos for you guys and share with you guys my truth about how the juicers work, the ins and outs, and you're going to learn things from me that you're really not going to hear anywhere else online because I have all the experience and I've been juicing for so long and I know the intricate workings of how these machines work so I could best explain them to you to empower you to have the knowledge you need to make the most appropriate choice that's going to fit you and your lifestyle. So hopefully you could become a juicer for life. So I really want to thank you guys who use my coupon code so I can continue my mission to educate the world about the different juicers and hopefully help you select the right one. So if you guys enjoyed this episode between the Champion and the NAMA J2 Juice Off, please be sure to give this video a big thumbs up. More importantly, share this with other people that you know that own the Champion juicer so they can hopefully upgrade to my favorite modern day juicer, the NAMA J2, so they could learn the ins and the outs, the pros and the cons. Also be sure to click that subscribe button right down below so you don't miss out on my new and upcoming episodes of Canada every 5 to 7 days. You never know what new juicers I'll be unboxing, what juicers I'll be comparing against each other, or what new juicing knowledge bombs I'll be dropping on you so you could be even healthier and better juicers than you were before. Make sure you click the little bell to get notified as my videos come out. And finally, be sure to check past episodes. Past episodes are a wealth of knowledge. Over 800 episodes at this time on this channel dedicated to teach you guys all about different juicers, vacuum blenders, and other appliances to process your plant foods in the best way to retain the most nutrition so that you can be healthier. So with that, my name is John Kohler with DiscountJuicers.com. Be sure to visit DiscountJuicers.com/YouTube for special promotional offers for our YouTube visitors.